Is the South Carolina housing market crashing? What does the data have to say about it? What do I think about it? We're gonna get into all of that in this video. What's up guys? I'm Bob Tompkins with the Living in SC team at Real Broker, and welcome back to the channel. Now, before we get into all of that, just a quick reminder, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you're thinking about moving to the area or moving within South Carolina, don't forget to shoot us a text at the number below or shoot us an email at info@livinginsc.com. We would love to help you with your home search. Now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. First and foremost, there have been tons of questions here in 2022 about the housing market. Obviously, since COVID started, we've seen a great rise in housing prices from 2020 to 2022. And then the elephant in the room this year has been the rising interest rates in the mortgage industry, which has greatly affected affordability for a ton of people. If you're not paying cash, it has affected you. So those are some of the things that we've seen. I mean, just this week, we've got interest rates hitting 7.5%. So everyone has that question. Are housing prices coming down? Should I be concerned about making an investment right now? Where are we at? So we're gonna jump into some of the data. Granted, a lot of this is based out of August, which is about a month behind because we won't have September's statistics until next month. But great data to be able to look at and get a good idea of where we are. So it is important to note that South Carolina actually exists a little outside of the US norms. We are one of the most moved to states in the country. So we have a huge influx of people, and that is impacting our numbers and keeping us as a more strong housing market compared to some of the other markets in the country. Of course, you do have your weaker markets like LA, New York, those where people are moving out of, that are feeling more of the impact of affordability, where we are not seeing it as much because of the amount of people that we have moving here. An example of this is actually in Greenville County. Greenville County in 2021, 65% of home buyers in 2021 were actually out of state buyers. These were people that were moving here or investors. So because of that, a lot of local people have not been able to buy homes. In fact, a lot of local people have actually been priced out of buying homes as there's been this great influx of people. But that demand from outside states, from people moving here, has continued to drive our housing market upwards, as we're gonna see in some of this data. So in August, year over year, home prices in South Carolina were actually up 13.2% to where they were in August of 2021. At the same time, the number of homes that actually sold in August of this year fell 13.3%, and the number of homes for sale fell 4.1%. Now, one of the biggest reasons you could see that decrease of homes that have sold is mortgage rates. Mortgage rates in August, we really started to see them spike then, and a lot of people kind of took their foot off the gas. So we did see less inventory actually moving in August of this year compared to August of last year, which has helped because there's now more supply on the market, but home prices are still selling 13.3% higher than they were last year. So there's still that significant growth in home prices. Now, one of the things that I do want to keep an eye on is where prices have gone from June to where they did in August. In June, the median home sales price in South Carolina was $372,000. In August, the median home sales price fell to $356,500. So actually down about $15,500 from the month before. Now, median home sales prices can vary a little bit just based on what homes were on the market and what homes did sell. But that sort of dip is typically a larger market indicator, showing us that interest rates are heavily impacting the median home sales price. And it's also showing us that there is negotiating to be done in the housing market right now. Previously in 2021 and in early 2022, the idea of being able to negotiate on a home that you were offering on was almost ludicrous because there were gonna be multiple offers, you were gonna be bidding against other people, and you weren't gonna be able to work terms out for yourself as a buyer. You were going to have to fit your terms to what the seller wanted. So now, as we have a little bit more inventory, because as we just talked about, the number of homes that sold in August actually dipped down year over year. Because there's a little bit more inventory, because affordability is down, there is less competition in the market right now in South Carolina, which is actually allowing buyers to work terms a little bit to their favor. Now, this is something that I am personally feeling with some of the deals that I've been working, as well as the team, as we've seen offers that have come in $30,000, $40,000 under asking price, and we've been able to work up and negotiate somewhere between $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 under. Now, that's not always the case. If a house is highly desirable, if it's in a great area, if it's well staged, well photographed, those homes are still going to sell at list price, if not above list price, especially if they're in some of those really desired areas. But in a general market overview, there are opportunities to be able to negotiate. Now, it does depend on what price point you're in. Like I said, the median is $356,000. If you are under that median price, it is gonna be really hard to negotiate because people need a place to live. There's not a ton of supply. There's still a ton of demand there. But the moment you kind of get above that median price, there's way less demand, there's way less competition, and we're seeing a lot more negotiation there. So that is something to keep in mind when you're moving here. If you're looking at a $500,000, $600,000 home, you're probably gonna have more flexibility working with the seller to get them down a little bit. Versus if you're coming in here at $200,000 to $250,000, understand that's where a lot of the local people that have been born and bred here can still afford homes. That's where the affordability kind of is right now. And there's still gonna be a fair amount of competition there. Our days on market with those homes are still very low. Now, based on that, there are two other data points that I want to talk about, and that is days on market as well as homes that have sold above list price. So with days on market, we are seeing a median days on market of 46 days right now, which is actually down from a year ago. A year ago, we were at 47 days on market. Now we're at 46. What this tells us is that the demand and the readiness to move on buyers' parts still exists, and homes that are properly priced and staged well are moving quickly. You're still gonna have your people that overprice homes, that don't stage them well, that don't present very well, and those homes sit on the market for a longer period of time. But the ones that are priced appropriately and staged well are still moving really quick. That median days does sit in the middle. It's kind of like an average. So at 46 days, we do know that great homes are still moving really quickly, because in a balanced market, we would expect that number to be somewhere between 90 and 100 days. So we're still half at the minimum. We're still half of where we would expect to be in a balanced market. So this is still a seller's market, even if we're starting to see a little give in those list price. And that actually leads me into my next point, which is how many homes have sold above list price? Well, in August in South Carolina, 27.7% of listings sold above list price. That's roughly 1 out of every 4, but it's down from 38.8% in August of last year. So last year we saw basically 2 out of every 5 homes were selling above list price. Now we're seeing about 1 out of every 4. That tells me that the homes that are in highly desired areas, that are priced right, that look great online, are still moving really, really quickly. But those that aren't are going to sell below list price. There's gonna be more negotiation. You're gonna have more opportunity to maybe get some terms that work well for you and your situation. Now, with all of this, one of the biggest things that we look at is the number of homes on the market. So you've got basic supply and demand. Obviously, the demand in South Carolina is high, so the supply is going to affect what we're looking at quite a bit. When we look year over year compared to August of last year, the supply in South Carolina is actually down about 4.1%. However, if you go back to just February of this year, in the last 6 months, we've seen about a 25% increase in the inventory of homes, and this can largely be credited to the rising interest rates. So while rising interest rates are frustrating, I understand it when you're moving and you're like, man, we're gonna have to pay more for our home. I wouldn't look at it as necessarily a bad thing. This will allow you to negotiate. Like I've been saying, there's less of those offers that are going over list price, there's more inventory, there's the ability to work with sellers. You're able to negotiate better terms, better purchase price, maybe get a credit from the seller. And then when the time comes, when interest rates come back down, that could be 6 months, could be 2 years, could be 5 years. When they come down, let's say to 4.5%, 5%, you would have the ability to refinance into that new rate with the terms that you negotiated on a home a year, 2, 3 years prior. So I wouldn't necessarily look at this as a negative, more so as an opportunity to be able to work with sellers to get some better terms for you, even in a state where tons of people are moving. It's a tougher market for us, especially as real estate agents, to work, but it's one that if navigated correctly, we can still find a great deal for you in this housing market. Now, the question at the beginning of the video, is the South Carolina housing market crashing? I think the data tells us no, but it definitely is cooling off, leveling off, and giving buyers a better opportunity to get the home that they need for their family. So with that being said, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, check out some of our other videos, and please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you're thinking about making a move to South Carolina. Once again, I'm Bob Tompkins with the Living in South Carolina team at Real Broker, and we'll see you next time.